Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas or opinions expressed by myself, the guest, or a caller may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment defined, it's the state of giving and receiving grace. Welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer. The Enlightenment Evolution Hour is a part of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Any ideas or opinions expressed by myself, the guest, or a caller may not necessarily reflect the same opinions of the Enlightenment Evolution Network. Enlightenment defined, it's the state of giving and receiving greater knowledge and understanding about a certain subject or situation. Evolution defined, the gradual development of something, especially from a simple to a more complex form. So what then is Enlightenment Evolution? The state of giving and receiving greater knowledge as we develop from a simple to a more complex human being, living on Earth for our soul's experience. Welcome now and join us as we explore our Enlightenment Evolution Hour together. Hey everybody, welcome to the Enlightenment Evolution Hour. I am your host, Rob Gauthier, the ET Whisperer, and welcome to the show. Sorry about the 1.5 intro, guys. The side buttons on the mouse are always fun that way. Welcome everybody. Welcome all from the Matrix Minds. Welcome Brainiacs. Welcome here. As you guys know, the Enlightenment Evolution Hour is every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern, and that's 7 o'clock Pacific. And we are here simulcasting on both the Enlightenment Evolution Hour Facebook page and the Matrix Minds Facebook page, as well as the ET Whisperer YouTube, and redistributed afterwards to the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, as well as Conscious Awakening Network. Welcome all. Thank you guys for being here today. Today we have a wonderful, amazing, highly interesting, highly intelligent man who is going to be a beautiful guest, Peter Benson. But before we talk with him and bring him in, there are a few announcements as usual. I'm going to skip the network news because the network news is the same as it has been. There's not much updates. We still got our show every week. We're checking in on the other two shows to see what their new schedules will look like. Once they get back to full blast, you can always go to Out There Talk with Valiant himself over on Instagram, where he does the Instagram lives Tuesday and Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. Eastern. That's 8:59 p.m. Pacific. And the mothership, you can go there on the YouTube and subscribe and see whenever they upload a new video. And once we have more detailed information, we will share that with you with their new schedules. Secondly, for the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, we have some beautiful upcoming guests next week. We have Amy Robeson. The week after that, we will have Sue Frederick. And then we are going to have on Wednesday, the 2nd of August, we're going to have multiple people. For the first time in the Enlightenment Evolution Hour show history, we will have a lot of people. We're going to have 5 or 6 guests that night. This is going to be the same group that I am going to be with in Sedona, and I will share a little more about that with you. But that'll be an amazing show. All of you guys who have been here, who watched the show, our past guest, Ruben Langdon, dear friend of the show and dear friend of mine, are going to be a part of that show too, which is amazing. The week after that, let's see, that's Wednesday the 2nd. Okay, so the 9th, I'm still waiting from 2 people to find out, but on the 16th, we will have Riz Mizra, who is a psychic and a channeler, And the next week after that, his wife, Oriah Mesro, will be here on the 23rd of August. So that's what we've got going on for the show. And for the ET Whisper, we have the Sedona event, which will be September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, which is a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it's going to be a 3-day extensive retreat. And in that retreat, Ruben Langdon will be with me at night. Me and him are going to be doing a separate thing, which is part of the VIP package. If you buy that, that involves your ability to first choose which presenters you want to be a part of the scheduling. Because one day, half of us will be in the building doing workshops, and the other half will be out in the field in Sedona and some of the high vortex areas teaching classes out there. And then the next day we swap up. So, with all the presenters that'll be there, you get to choose what schedule you want and prioritize with the VIP package. And at night, for the first 2 nights we're going to be there, we are going to be outside in the Sedona Desert doing CE5s. Ruben Langdon and myself. We've done that before in Asheville. Ruben does them all the time, and I've done them many times as well. It's going to be great because that's a UFO hotspot. So, if you're in the Sedona area and want more information, you can go to my Facebook, and I will have that integrated fully into the website by the end of this weekend. Definitely a worthwhile trip. And then coming in February, I will be a part of the Conscious Life Expo. I'm going to have a booth there for all 3 days or all 4 days. And Friday and Sunday, I will be doing a 45-minute class and a 90-minute workshop. All of it being there will be great. Plus, I'm just going to be hanging out at the booth for most of the rest of the time. So you can come over, say hi to me if you're in the area. That's over in Los Angeles at the Hilton LAX, I believe. That will be integrated onto the websites also. But because I got started a few minutes late and my announcements, I'm going to shut up and introduce our guests. My guest, Peter, was a normal ASE mechanic and engineer technician when he experienced a significant awakening that opened his connection to the higher self and to the angelic realm. He discovered that he had an angelic origin as part of the Archangel Michael's army of light. Guided by Archangel Michael and ascended masters, Peter was guided on how to put together Tensor technology with palpable healing properties. His research led him to build Tensor rings and crystal-infused pendants, Merkabas, healing coils, sound frequency amplifiers, PTSD restoratives, and more. When wearing Peter's pendants and anklets and using various energy tools, they connect to the auric field, creating a protective light around the subtle body of light. This force field will protect your core energy from lower influences, including environmental building, negative entities, and people. They work directly with your conscious intentions. Peter uses advanced technology in both technology and quantum physics to bridge the gap between science and consciousness. And there's a lot of interesting things that he has had invented that you look at the reviews and so many people really enjoy and love what he's creating. So instead of telling you guys more about him and telling you his history, we'll bring him in and ask him directly. Hello, Peter. How are you doing tonight? Oh, we can't hear you. I think you're still muted.
There we go. Okay.
Here we are.
Still here. Doing good. Thank you, Rob, for having me on. It's a privilege.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful to have you on, and I appreciate you coming on. And we got a chance to chat a little bit before the show, which is always great. And we got so carried away. That's why I was a couple minutes late coming in because a lot of the things that you deal with are so interesting. But I want to start where we start everyone. I know you have a story, and that story is amazing, and we will talk about that. But I want to know, what was the childhood version of you? What was the young adult version of you? What was those parts of your childhood that opened up the possibility for you to be a mechanically minded person, for you to be a person who has any possibility of having a spiritual awakening? What were some of the influences and experiences and personality traits that you had as a young person that opened up the possibility for you to have this story?
Oh, well, that's actually a good one.
Thank you.
And well, yeah, it's actually everybody's got their journey. So it starts when you're younger and you start working towards growing up with your parents, and you gain a lot of attributes from your parents. Um, for me, I ended up learning a lot about being a mechanic because my father was a mechanic. Um, and I didn't know this until later on, but actually the empath side of me was actually on my mother's side of the family, and it was very strong. And I didn't realize that until, well, just recently, probably about 5 years ago. So I ended up being a mechanic, going through school and all those things. So I ended up being very mechanically inclined. As I was growing up, driving my mother crazy, taking apart things and couldn't put it back together. But that's part of the learning process when you're a mechanic. So that was always fun. But the thing is I ended up being a mechanic for 15 years. And then it just got to the point where it's like I really enjoyed it, but it was getting the chemicals that were being used and all that was just getting a little much. So I ended up going back to school and ended up becoming a engineering technician. So I started going on a different path using more, logic and detail, data driven. Um, and then from merging those two pieces, being hands on, being very creative, intuitive, and then utilizing, data driven decisions and detail. Um, when I was going through divorce, this is when actually I had to try to figure out who I was again. And that's when everything started to change. So
I,
that's basically where we started today.
That's beautiful. And before we go further, too, we have the audience saying that it's very hard to hear you, that your microphone volume is much lower than mine, or the introduction is there a
All
way
right.
you can move a
Let me.
little close? Yeah. How's that, everybody? Is that sound? You sounded good to me, but I'm not
Is that
sure.
better?
It sounds louder to me, so I hope that works. Let me know, chat.
Yeah.
Throw
Let me
some
know.
info in there and let us know how that is. So that's amazing, and the mechanical inclination from your father's side, the intuitive from your mother. It's funny how we get older and we look back at, even just regular personality traits that we have, that we didn't recognize. We spend our childhood and young teenage years and young adult years saying, "Oh man, I don't want to be like my parents," and then we grow up and we integrate so many parts that we saw that weren't so exciting as a kid, but as an adult, you were like, "Oh yeah, that's amazing thing to have gotten from my parents." So it's always nice to see that. Um,
Yeah.
all right, and um, okay, I'm looking back at the chat. So can you tell us? Well, first let's check the microphone. There's a little lag.
Yeah.
Is that any better, guys?
Do I sound any better? Can you guys hear me clear?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Any
wait to
better?
see. Um, well, someone said they can't hear you at all, which would be really crazy. But
Well, yeah.
okay, engineering becoming okay, data driven. All right, so one person at least heard you. Okay, perfect. That sounds
Okay.
good. All right, so
Okay.
so that's amazing, and integrating and seeing those things from your parents that now you can do. I recognize that too well after my psychic journey, is how psychic my mom and her side of the family were too, which I think a lot of maternal energy naturally has, just with the links of their children and stuff. But so take us to that point. Then take us to your beginning part of your awakening, and tell us a little bit maybe about what led up to your awakening, if there were any special circumstances, and if not, just share with us kind of what you went through.
Yeah. Well, as I had mentioned, it was I was going through a divorce, so I was trying to figure out who I was again. Um, and when you're in a relationship for 20 years and then things don't go well, you kind of lose where you are. Or who you are. So it took me a little bit. And what I had started reading was Michael Newton's books, The Journey of the Soul, and trying to understand. a little bit more of who we are, and it shows more of a, how do you want to call it? More of, he was regressing people and kind of getting an idea and a design of what it's like on the other side. Job roles and the whole nine yards on the other side of incarnation. So it was really interesting. So I read his books, and then I found Brian Weiss's books, which are very similar in nature. Um, and then I ended up finding Dolores Cannon's books. And then I read all of those. At the time, it was like 17 or 18. I read them all. And her stuff was absolutely amazing. So going through these, I was like, okay, this just gives you an idea of how much we truly understand being here. I mean, as a mechanic, I went through my daily thing. I just went to work, worked on the cars, went home, had a beer after work, and kind of watched TV a little bit. And then it's like you're on the rat race. But then you start reading these books, and it's just like, I think I missed something here. We weren't taught any of this. So it was like, okay, waking up. And so it was like really like a splash of cold water trying to figure out who we were. And then I started doing sound baths and meditations. And when we started doing that, I was looking for other energy tools and stuff like that, just looking around, just being curious. And I ended up finding Slim Sperling, and he ended up finding tensor rings, or coined the name tensor rings, and he created these tools with just copper wire. And it was just copper wire. It was folded over, twisted, and cut to specific lengths, and he was having miraculous healing with these tools. And it's one of the things is with these tools, it's not a new technology. This technology was actually first found or rediscovered by John Archibald Wheeler. He was a Manhattan Project nuclear physicist. So he discovered this back in 57.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, so tensor rings are not new. And the name was coined by Slim. So that was in the 90s that he named it. But they didn't know what to do with it, because what he found was is if you take this one wire and you braze it onto itself, it creates a positive energy field on one side and a negative on the other side, which is not a good thing. But Slim actually worked it out where if you take those same wire, fold it over on itself with a positive, with twisting a clockwise manner, and then brazing the wires back onto itself, it creates a positive vortex of energy on both sides, therefore negating the negative energy field that was found by John Archibald Wheeler, creating a useful tool.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, no, this stuff has been around for ages. It's just it takes time, and I don't believe it was ready for it to actually come out until Slim got it out and going. And when he actually what he found was is he actually when he was cutting these up and making rings, it really didn't start making really an energetic tool until he actually cut it to the length of the Giza pyramid cubit length. So the Giza pyramid is, they were using, our measurement of foot or meter. They were using a cubit length that was actually utilized in the creation of the Giza, the Great Pyramid, and the 25.06 inches or something like that, right? And then when he did that, now the tensor ring started, radiating energy at 144 megahertz. It was a resonant frequency of hydrogen, and it was actually healing the physical body. So this is where it really started kicking in. It's like, oh, these qubit links have meaning, and we can actually feel it now. So it was one of those really interesting things. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
That's crazy. You think about all of the man-made measurements, man-made time, the way that we've done this over the millennia, and we really have convoluted things that are very easy. A day is when the sun goes up and goes down. When we make a full twist around, and the years when we make it all the way around the sun, and the division. Even the 13-month, 28-day cycle, which was a lunar calendar, was perfect. And then they're like, no, we have to change it for our emperor's glory. And then we're stuck with whatever. It's crazy. And it's the old measurement that unlocked this technology. Is fascinating. And
Yeah.
the only time I've ever heard of Tensor before I had my spiritual experience was the medical devices that zap your muscles. What's the difference of that and these Tensor rings?
Okay, so the tool you're talking about is called a TENS unit.
Tens unit. Yep.
T-E-N TENS unit. And these are Tensor, Tensor.
Okay, so
So
they're
this is a different
vastly
technology.
different, right? Okay, and does the tensor use electromagnetic quality if it's making this field of energy? I'm imagining there's got to be some electromagnetic component, maybe.
Um, when Slim actually, he was more of a tinkerer and less scientific, but he had his best friend was actually a physicist, and they went and actually got these tools tested out. One at a lab at Lockheed Martin, and another one I think it was in Germany, and they found that they were radiating energy at specific frequencies. But it was the way Slim puts it, it's not standard electromagnetics. It's more of it's creating an energy field based on like life energy, chi, prana, or whatever name you want to call it. More on that type of energy field. Um, and that's the interesting part. You can actually feel the energies of them.
I have seen some equipment that have been processed through our community, and a lot of it I've had reactions only slightly to maybe some crystal energy that was there because I'm familiar with crystal energy. That's something I felt a lot, but there are some things that I've seen that talk about fields, uh, you know, a tortle field or a lot of other, and then you pick up these things. And usually they claim to be in the electromagnetic spectrum of some sort. And some of those things are extremely potent and powerful. I've never had one of your devices personally, but I've looked through all of the people who have and who've used them, and they describe something very similar to what I felt with these very few devices, because so many people have these, that they claim to be really positive and good, and I think it's more the intention behind it, and that creates the energy for some people. But some things I can physically, electronically, energetically feel. Um, and those are very powerful and potent. So I'm imagining when you're saying you feel the field, that's what you mean. You can physically and energetically feel that.
Yes. This energy field, what's interesting is the the tensor ring is just is a round piece of wire that's been a wire that's been folded over onto itself, spun, brazed. So it's actually a round wire that looks like braided wire, but it's cut to the specific frequency, and that gives you the energy from it. Now, it's the inside that ring, it creates an energy field similar to if you want to take the visualization of when you blow soap bubbles. When you have that soap film inside that plastic ring and you blow bubbles, that soap film in the middle is a representation of what the energy field is inside that tensor ring. So there's an energy field that waves inside the middle of it. That's one aspect. The other point is it creates a field, like a torus energy field. So you're going to figure it looks like a donut energy field coming off of that tensor ring. And then if the energy coming off of that torus kind of projects energy out like a flashlight coming out of both sides in the energy frequency of that tensor ring.
Well, that's fascinating, and the energy there that you're experiencing. What kind of properties of healing? Because you said that these things started healing people. That this man found and developed, and his friend measured it. What kind
Yeah.
of noticeable healing properties were first mentioned or reported when using that?
Slim Sperling was actually with the tensor rings that he was running with the sacred cubit, which is the Great Pyramid. He was getting accelerated healing for bone breaks, arthritis, and other physical ailments in the body. And you can, I mean, if you read the two books, one's a biography and the other one's an autobiography of his books, it has all the different reports, the anecdotal evidence from the people that are utilizing these tools. And some of them are pretty astonishing for the healing that they got out of just using those rings.
It's amazing. So it seems to be a spectrum of different things, all these different things, and accelerated healing itself is something I know that has been documented well inside of pyramid structures. They've had the Russian pyramid that the scientists use and had things growing, almost 60% faster, and had people meditating in them who had severe issues with cancers and things like that. And it developed destruction of some of the cancer cells. So there is fascinating
Yep.
proof out there that these types of things work. Um, so why do you think it was so important? Have you intuited this sense with the cubit reading versus the standard measurements when he kind of found that and created that energy there, which opened up the double positive field or the circular positive field around this object? Do you think or what is your intuition about why the cubit worked?
Well, I have a feeling that the pyramid builders knew more about things than we've been led to believe. All you have to do is look at the precision of the build of the Great Pyramid, the almost precise orientation north, south, east, west, the actual size. I can't remember what the numbers are, but it was like it was at some if you multiply this was it the side of the Great Pyramid times something, you get the diameter or the circumference of the Earth, and it's all kinds of crazy math if you do go into the Great Pyramids with the Earth and the circumference and different understandings. Um, I thought that was rather interesting. I'm like, okay, this is cool. Um, but there are other measurements out there more than the one that was actually the Great Pyramid. You have the Teotihuacan, the South American one. You have the Solomon's cubit. There's about 12 different cubits out there, if not more.
Oh, wow.
So right now we're utilizing we're utilizing four different qubits in the pendants we're creating right now. And one of them actually, one of the tensor rings came in for me when I was trying to create a ring for somebody, and it came in and it's a 369. It's a Tesla numbers, so it's pretty interesting. And they're all different frequencies. They're all different energies out of it.
Uh, so you're saying it's a Tesla, so it's a 369. What are the other ones? What are the dimensions of those, or the number sequence in those?
Well, there's all different number sequences. It's more of a so if you look at the one that Slim originally came into with the Great Pyramid, that one, if you think about it, is more based on the physical body. So we accounted that one towards the root chakra being here in physical form. And then we actually have other tensor rings, the empowerment ring, and then we have oh good God, there's a couple of them in there, but we have basically one ring per chakra up to the last cubit, which is your heart chakra, the Solomon's cubit, which is your throat chakra. We have one for the third eye, we have one for crown chakra, and we have one for star chakra, and there's a couple
So,
more.
so I would imagine if you line the chakras up with the types of sickness or illnesses that people tend to have, because I know, at least from my understanding, if one chakra specifically is resistant in some way, shape, or form, then the organs or portion of the body where that chakra exists is where the physical illnesses tend to manifest. But if that's the case, does each of these heal different types of things, or are they all based to do basic types of healing? I mean, what are the different types of properties that you're going to get with these?
So, like I use the third eye, crown chakra, and star chakra in one of the pendants. And that basically, when you put that pendant on, you feel like your heart opens up, but you also feel a connection to your higher self. It just allows you to do more in like a meditative state. Allows you to feel more just in general, but it's a rather intense feeling. And it's one of those that's like if you allow the pendant to stay at full power, it can get overwhelming, and you have to actually turn it down if you want to do your day-to-day work and things like that.
All right, I've got so many technical questions because my mind is bent that way too. Let's kick back first. Two things first. Um,
Yeah.
with your camera on, that might cut some audio because some people said you're still a little quiet, but they can hear you now. So if you want to, nobody can see you, just I can. But if you want to switch that up, that might help with the audio broadband. And secondly, when it comes down to your story. You're exploring all this different information. You yourself were a mechanic, so explain to us how you took this knowledge that you learned and kind of started creating your own. The process and the history behind that would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we basically roll back to um, just understanding. We got through the books, and I started understanding some spurling and doing the tensor rings. And I was going to a sound bath, and this lady we were doing sound baths with, she was doing healing, and of course, I was going through that whole ordeal. So I was like, okay, I'll do a healing session with her. And then at that point, Metatron came in and it's like, you need to make anklets, and this has to be made out of a tensor ring, and it has to have the five specific crystals in it, and the crystals have to be covered with a copper mesh. And that's all they said, or that's all he said. And then he said, well, this is going to protect your frequencies as we go through this time. And I'm like, okay, or control, protect your energy as you go through this time. And okay, I didn't even have a clue on how to design it, and I didn't know what it meant to protect your energies at the time either. So it took about a year and a half to get the anklets actually to a usable state. I had a lot going on at the time, so it's kind of understandable. Um, so that's where, okay, now I'm utilizing the tensor rings and creating an anklet. Metatron gave me the five different crystals, two of which I've never heard of before. That particular before that session, I'm like, that's cool. Let's go find them.
Yeah,
Uh,
Metatron goes hard, doesn't he?
yeah, he did. It was kind of interesting. Um, so it was actually kind of cool. Got those working, and we actually got somebody um, to explain it to us. We were at a conference, and a lady actually was very visual with her energy, and she put the anklets on, and the way she described it to me, it was really articulate. She's like, when you put these on, and if you visualize yourself having, those images of the seven chakras lit up in their nice colors, and you see our beautiful energy field looking like this giant donut of energy coming, coming as an opening over your crown, then opening by your root chakra, and you see this giant donut of energy. She goes, okay, now you take that donut of energy and you put a plug in the top and bottom. So now you don't have any entry point that's coming into your field, and your field just turns into a shield. That's
Wow.
how she explained it.
That's pretty impressive. The energy expression of that makes a lot of sense, and that tells a lot about how the energy reflects and reacts within the auric field and through the chakra system. Now, I want to jump back just a tad. As we're going through your story, you did a
Yeah.
lot of this studying and a lot of this, and then you're able to connect with Metatron, and Metatron shares this information. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about how you started receiving angelic messages, because that energy is very important for a lot of people in our audience who are trying to channel or working to make some kind of contact with their higher self, excuse me, higher self or their guides. Can you tell us a little bit about what part of your waking up process kind of opened the field for you to receive these messages?
Yeah, it was more of getting because of if I mean just looking at my history, I was a lot of left brain. Mechanic, I was using intuition, but it was a lot of mechanical and repeated things in there. But then going into engineering, all left brain. When I was actually going through this awakening, it was the hardest thing was allowing the emotional side, the non-logical, the creative side to get like its fair time share of mental process. So it was kind of interesting, and it was one of the hardest things to do. And it was I utilized listening to meditation music when I was working out in the garage trying to work on the tensor rings and stuff like that. And there was one I can't remember diva can't remember what her name was, but she had a song out. It was a hymn prima, and it was just basically saying that mantra over and over again, and it's I am divine light. And basically what I was doing is I was just keeping my left brain out of the way, just repeating that over and over and over again, and allowing myself to be creative. Um, and that put me in a balanced state. At that point, it was I didn't so much get like I didn't get a massive download. It was more of a knowing. So okay, you need to do this. It's like okay, so I would actually stop doing what I was doing and start moving on to a different thing. And that's how they've been communicating with me. Um,
So that started
and
then after you had started building these tensor technologies, and it happened in a time where you're exploring more of how to expand that technology.
yes,
Okay.
because it kind of intertwines. So I started doing tensor rings, and then I had, I was doing this trying to heal myself. So I was doing this, the mantras and stuff like that, creating different rings, different sizes, put them on your fingers, doing meditation, something you can sit in, put them on, put them around crystal bowls. So I was doing all these different sizes and experimenting and trying to understand. And this is when I was doing the mantra. And then Metatron came in and said, I need you to do this. And I was like, okay, here we go. So I mean, it was more of like I started getting more comfortable and my energy got better and better and better. And then Metatron came in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You really can't get to that place where you're connecting unless you allow. And I know it's hard for a lot of male beings or masculine heavy beings to allow that emotional balance to come in with them. But when you do, and you're not overly dependent on either, that's usually where the balance point is for most people. I found too, and the same with the feminine when they start bringing in some more of the masculine energy that helps them uh, not just in the emotional field. It tends to bring some balance to them too. So um, this is beautiful too. I want to also talk about the angelic energy since then, since Metatron first came to you and kind of shared this description with you in the technology and kind of showed you that way. How has the other angelic energies been integrated? Can you describe a little bit about who's come to you and kind of where they came to you and what they talked to you about?
Yeah. So Metatron came in, basically came in twice. Once for the anklets, and he came back in when we had to have a solution to a problem that came through. And then he came in. It's like, okay, do this. I'm like, okay. That was the first time I created a pendant in the current form. So that was his creation as well. Um, but after that particular time, and this is when I started dating with and getting together with Vivian. And at this point, my vibration started going up, and just being around her is insane. So it's amazing how high her vibration is. Um, so what we found
And
out when
Vivian being the Vivian that we've had on our show, Vivian Chevet.
Vivian Chauvet, yes,
Okay.
she is now my wife and been happily married for years now. So this is good.
Yeah, that's very good. Happily married's the right way to go.
Absolutely.
And she is a
And
wonderful lady too. I really enjoyed my time with her on the show.
yeah, she's amazing. When we first met, she was when she saw me, she was her team and my team connected to her and it's like, just so you know who he is, they basically allowed her to see Archangel Michael's army as me being part of that whole group. And they showed a whole army of angels behind me, all in all the uniform, we're uniformed, armored up. So that was actually really cool, and that was the first time I was like, I'm what now? Like, please explain. Do explain, please, please. Help me understand what that means. And of course, there's no real direct answers there either. Um, and what happened is that Vivian was not the only one that actually came across with that. We had another friend who was very sensitive and also said the same thing. Um, and it wasn't until I think it was about 2 years ago when um, Archangel Michael really started coming through me for channeled messages, basically directly to Vivian and helping, get us get through some different things that our challenges that we've been going through. We're getting through the different businesses we do, and the messages for where she's going, what's going on, like that. But when he comes in, I just start crying. It's just an unconditional love, and it's just like, oh my goodness, here we go. But Michael does come through, and it is very, very impressive.
Michael is a very powerful energy, and like you said, there might not be a lot of direct answers for the thing about the army of light, or the soldier in the army of light that both your partner and also this other psychic saw. But what have you intuited about that? Because a lot of people who have Christianity religious backgrounds have kind of pushed away from the archangel channeling or the archangel energy. I know I did for a long time. That's why I couldn't connect with Metatron, just because of the dogmatic things that I was still kind of working through from the churches that I grew up in. And then when I finally connected, it was very powerful and beautiful and life changing. But what do you intuit about that? What do you intuit about this whole Christianity aspect of the angelic things versus how you experience them?
When you look at the the way that the religions look at them, it's like I've met people that are, they're Hindu and they don't even recognize the archangels or their Buddha, and they don't even recognize the archangels and stuff like that. So there's the energies of these beings that are coming through. They just are. So if you have a religion that doesn't necessarily reflect that particular energy, they may have somebody that reflects that energy in its own name and a different name because of whoever or how they were put together or how they were brought into existence on this planet. So you have to look at it differently. So the dogmatic setup that we're in right now, the religions are all based on control. So until you can understand that these these are a way of control, and yet the religions have been modified and modified and modified from their original source put people in a position of releasing their power of themselves in control by others. Um, and you're just giving up the power of yourself to others, and that's not what is the intent of for us coming in.
Yeah, that's my feeling too, is that most religions at the base of that religion, if you go past the translated or mistranslated junk, and you go back to the original source, a lot of it has at its base very empowering things to say, maybe cryptic at sometimes, but very empowering things. And it's the way that these words get twisted, or one word completely mistranslated just throws the whole meaning of everything out. Um, and something that I found in the one channeling I found when I first had my experience that I had to bounce against in order to find out if I was just an insane person or if I actually had some real happening with me. I bumped into the Seth material, and when I heard Seth say something similar, that all the intentions of the religions were to be helpful, that was really powerful to me too, and I really resonate with that idea. Um, so let's go back then to where we are, where you're creating this technology, and you've had Archangel Michael at this time come in, and you've had Metatron come in and help you with that. What other beings in the angelic realm have you been able to connect with?
Well, yeah, it's Metatron was the first, and he came in for the anklets, and then due to a issue with a friend of mine, we ended up having to. Okay, we needed a redesign because she was actually wearing the anklets and was getting basically given a really hard time by our husband for wearing the anklets, the woo woo energy tools.
Ah,
Uh, and she was an accountant, and it was tax time, and she's like, "These things work great, but I have to give them back." So I'm like, "Okay, Metatron, how do we make this fit and make it work, and nobody would notice a difference? Nobody would even think twice." And this is where the pendant came in. Um, And from there, we were utilizing that particular design to help people, and it's basically shielding. Again, it's just a protective um, from other people's energies mostly. It's more like the imagery you get from watching the Celestine prophecy when when they're in the garden to protect from other people's overwhelming energies. But as I was creating these, that's when Michael came in and said, "I want this to look like this," and it was just like an image. And I saw the image. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I created them. I'm like, okay, that's cool looking. And then that's where that one came in. Um, in the energy of the pendant, when you put it on and you basically you reset it because you don't know where it's been or what it's been doing. You reset the intentions on it, and then you tell it to go to full power. Then these pendants just, oh, good gracious. You for a Michael, when you put it on, it feels like he is standing right behind you, and you feel like you are safe, protected, and loved all at that one particular moment, and you just feel that way. Um, and that's the nature of these tools. The Metatron feels like armor. When you put it on, it just feels like you just put on angelic armor. Michael feels like he's there to help you and protect you, keeping you calm and safe and clear.
That's extremely powerful energy to have. And when I hear you say protecting from other people, what I'm imagining is people who are empathic or sensitive to energies, just the negative vibes that people throw off. Is there something
Mhm.
more to it than that?
There is. There's a lot to it. We haven't covered that part yet, so let's do that here. So the anklets and the pendants all have the ability to protect your energy, and it's an intention-based shield. So everybody in the audience can sit there and put up a shield. That's our basic intentions, right? We can just do it. And I'm not saying that that nobody can. This is true. Everybody can do this. What these tools do is they create the effect of that shielding, so that you don't have to put up a intention shield. And what you can do is actually program yourself to the feeling. So when you're wearing it, you can feel the energy of you walking around your day, and you still feel your own energy without being overwhelmed by others. All you got to do is remember that feeling, and then program it to that word, a word, any word, bubble, egg, shell, shield, whatever it is. And then if you can actually get that program into your subconscious, you no longer have to do it because your body's going to do it for you. So these are training to understand the energies and how you feel, more than just the intention of putting up a shield. Now, these are shields, and they're also intention based. So think of it as this. When you put it on, I can't feel the environment I'm in when I'm like walking into a conference. I'm shielded. But if I choose to feel somebody's energy, all you got to do is look at that individual and okay, just feel it. And then you understand that individual at that moment without
That's
being overwhelmed by all the energies around you.
it's basically a manually controlled, or when you learn to program it, subconsciously controlled energetic protection. So you don't have to deal with the people that you don't want to, but people who you do, it drops the shield down and lets that in, but nothing else. I know a lot of meditation or visualization types of things that some of my guides have shared have something similar aspect to that, where I'm only going to allow people who have my best mind at heart, or my best outcome in their own mind, to
Yep.
let through. So it's very much like that, but enhancing it through your auric field.
Yes. You got to figure these are tensor rings that are amplifying crystals. And they basically merge into your field and they create an effect into your field. There's no batteries, there's nothing there except for the crystals in the tensor ring. So these are angelically guided tools. and they're fully intention based on who we are at in heart. We are an energy. So these are tools to help us understand who we are.
I love that. That it sounds very, very powerful and intent. I definitely have some things too that I've been working through with my own physical experience. I'm trying to get certain health aspects back in alignment with my own body. So I'm going to definitely be looking through after we get done talking and kind of checking that out. When someone comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm having some issues, and my issues are physical based, energetically. I feel fine." Which of these would you recommend to them, or do they all equally have the same attributes or similar attributes?
Well, they're all different. Of course, they all have a different energy to them. They all can be controlled through the intentions. So, like we already covered the Metatron, which is a shield. Michael is calming and shielding and clearing your energy. We do the multidimensional, which is the opening up your third eye, crown chakra, star chakra, and then really allow you to do more in a meditative state and for more etheric body and stuff like that. That kind of more of a advancing your spiritual growth. And then we have the Archangel Shamuel, and that one is actually a heavy stress for those of us who have been through heavy stress and traumas. It keeps you very balanced and very centered and allows you to make it through your day, even though you're still dealing with whatever energies you're dealing with. And with these tools, so they have their base frequencies and the way they do things based on the crystals and the tensor rings they're made from. So if you were to, let's say, go to the website, go into the shop, and like pick one of the pendants, a Michael or a Shamuel, and just look at the picture, then you actually just visualize that like you're wearing it, right? You just visualize it on your chest. The pendant is there. Now you tell the pendant to reset. So there's no intentions on it. Then you tell that pendant, okay, go to full power. Then you feel the pendant just come on, come alive, and you feel your frequencies in your body and your energy field shifting. And everybody is different. So your frequencies are going to adapt to that frequency and that energy differently. Now that you have that pendant on, now you can focus on what you were dealing with. Like you were saying, I have a physical issue I need to deal with. Almost every single physical issue is based on energy. So, in order for you to heal, you have to get the energy cleared. So, think of it this way: tell the pendant to remove the root cause of the problem you're dealing with. Now, there are physical issues if you got into an accident or something like that where you still have trauma. That's where the Shamuel would come in and it's like, okay, let's remove the roots of that trauma because your body has memory and it will remember that trauma. You want to remove that memory from the physical body and allow your body to heal. So, this is what you want to do. You want to remove the energy of that trauma and remove the energy of those issues that you're dealing with and allow the body to heal. So you need to get yourself out of the way and let the body do what it needs to do.
That's fascinating. Yeah, to me that makes sense just from the perspective that internal technology utilizing external technology is always something that I've praised highly and sought after, just because the internal technology is something that we all have, the intention, the beliefs, the thoughts, auric field, chakras, all of this are in run 24/7, and we're always trying to adjust it to the circumstance. But a lot of the tools that I've seen have been really helpful on the external set to set that intention in so that it's not a 24/7 hour process. I take it that you usually bring these with you when you go to conferences and things. So people who are there at the conference, are they able to hold them and wear them to see how they feel on them?
Oh, absolutely. The exercise we just went through with the visualization and the actual with the visualizing the picture of it in front of you, that works, and you can actually feel the pendant before you actually would even have one physically. The thing is like you're holding that in intention. You can only hold, you will actually get distracted and the intention will drop away. So
Right.
understanding how they feel, you can actually get an understanding how it feels for you, but just by visualizing that. Um, if you can't, yes, we do. We bring product with us when we go to the different shows. We go everywhere. So, um, yeah, we do, and it's a lot of fun. And actually, that's the most fun we do have is actually having people put these on and experiencing a literal energy shift in their body. And a lot of times people are just holding the intentions before, and it's like they don't normally feel the shift in their energy field. This would be the first time for most people.
Right, right. That's kind of why I was thinking about that at the live show, because a lot of people who are new to the spirituality, they don't trust themselves. So they're like, "Well, I can visualize this, but what if I'm just making up in my own head?" So a lot of people are stuck at that point, who are trying
Yep.
to overcome that energy. So I think that's great that you guys let people check them out too that way, because it really, for most people who are at that level with the trust, it's definitely something. Well, I know this is something that you're excited about, you and Vivian, but tonight we'll talk about your experience with it, to connect with people who are newly connecting to their spirituality, the aspect of helping guide them through those difficult times. And I find that more people in our community now are coming into our community than ever before. I only remember this around 2011 when people started flooding in, but a lot of people were under the false pretenses that UFOs would be landing on December the 21st in 2012. And when they didn't, I saw a mass exodus of a lot of people who were in the ET consciousness aspect of our community. But this time, people are genuinely excited about it, and they don't care about that part of it as much. Even if they're excited by it, it's not what holds them to it. There's a genuine feeling of real awakening now, more than there ever was before. Can you share a little bit about the work that you do with people who are kind of entering that phase, or what you like to reflect to them when you communicate with them?
Absolutely. I when as we were just talking, it's like going out into conferences and having people that have never experienced anything, then they're dipping their toe into the energies of it and trying to understand what is this all about? What is this energy? It's like I don't feel anything, and at most conferences I'm just standing there and it's like, well, I don't feel anything. I go, okay, challenge accepted. Let's do this. And I do. It's fun because it's like the tools, the anklets are the undeniable the most powerful tool I have. Metatron gave that one in, and it was because of what it does. Um, for those that are, energetically sensitive empaths, when you walk into Costco and you can't stand to be in the room for more than 5 minutes, anklets. Um, the other aspect of it is that most people that are not energy sensitive, that what they feel is the grounding effect that the tensor ring that they're made from creates. And when you're standing there, you're standing on basically you're standing on a concrete floor with a very thin carpet, but your feet feel like they're in the floor. It's like that just feels weird. So the thing is, it's like everybody's standing there going, "Okay, I can feel that. Why do my feet feel like they're in the ground?" It's because they're energetically grounding you. Um, and this is where people, it's like I can actually feel that. It's like there we go. This is what we're
Mm,
talking about as the introduction to the energies. And even when we start getting people that are coming in, they usually come in, like groups. It'll be like two women come in or a couple that are just experiencing, and one is more sensitive than the other. And one will feel it, and the other one's like, I don't feel anything. It's like, well, the tool is working. You just need to relax and let the energy come through. And it's just a matter of time. And you give yourself a chance because this is actually something that we're not taught. And a lot of times, this is what I tell people, is just think of it this way. The people that you know that can't feel anything are probably the most sensitive people in your life. Because what probably happened is when they were born, they were completely born open and they had to create all these barriers to protect themselves from the energies that were not taught how to deal
Mm,
with.
that
So,
hits hard. Yeah, that's
doesn't it?
very
It just
honest.
feels
Yeah.
so right. And once I actually start cracking through some of the shells with this, and it's like, okay, now put the pendant on or put the anklets on, and then basically, okay, have the pendant remove some of these walls that you've created, and you just stand there with them for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And what happens is the tools, since they're intention based tools, they're amplifying you and your thoughts and your intentions. And if they are really, truly wanting to do this, you will see changes in their energy field and the way they respond in minutes. And then all of a sudden, they'll start to be feeling the energies of the environment. And it's just like, this is awesome.
That's amazing. It's kind of, to me, it sounds too like the old aspect of energy healing. When someone walks in and says, "This isn't going to work," well, it's not going to work right away. It might not be able to be felt for weeks or months until till that energy comes through in a way. And I know a lot of people who are really stubborn with the concepts, oh, this is all woo and fantasy land. These are the type of people who usually, if they stick to it just because nothing else is working, that's the ones who tend to have the biggest breakthroughs, because they go from this highly resistant, stubborn person to automatically understand, oh, I am healing. Wow, this is working. Wow, this energy is great. So I feel that very resonantly with the concept of how I've noticed through people when dealing with these types of things. The mental energy block is a heavy, heavy block, and that's the one, so many new people are trying to get through in the community in order to make a connection to their higher self or guides, or whoever, or just to open up the understanding of feeling energy. And one thing I teach when I teach people how to channel is that one of the tools that helped me the most, as much as the binaural beats and the guided meditations and all these things really helped, the thing that was most helpful was just closing my eyes when I didn't need to use them. Like when I was talking to people in the room who I knew, who didn't think I was ignoring them when I shut my eye, or when I was watching, I babysat 6 kids at that point. When they were all sitting down being good, I would close my eyes, sometimes for an hour or two, sometimes for 5 minutes, but just learning to feel instead of stimulate your mind visually, or learning to feel instead of listening to something specifically. It's kind of like you shut off the overstimulation of the brain and allow, and that's what really helps feel what energy feels like, compared to hoping that you can feel something, or feeling mentally that you're blocking things. So I resonate with that a lot. Um, so tell us now, is your work wrapped around this technology specifically, or what other aspects of work do you do with your understanding and your connection with this archangel energy to help others?
Right now, it's um, the the pendants and the anklets that we're trying to get these tools out to folks, because it's actually because of all the emotional trauma and the energies that are going on. These allow the newcomers, especially, but even the more sensitive ones of us that have actually been here for a while, it allows us to actually have an extra layer of protection that you don't have to worry about keeping up shields. Um, and it allows us to get the newcomers more stable quicker, get them into their power quicker, and allow them to understand that this is a thing. This is not just all hopium and all this other stuff and woo woo. No, this is real. You can feel it. So this is where I'm trying to get these tools to people so that they can help get them further along on their journey. Um, to the point where it's like I don't even have half the testimonials on the website that I did, and we had a really good one. I'm just going to go into a little bit of detail. We were just in Costa Rica, So we were in Costa Rica, a foreign country, and this lady from France came in. She couldn't even speak any English. She came with a couple friends, and she's like, "I need to get out of my head." And that's all. And her friend was communicating that way, and I'm like, and I looked at her, and I'm intuitively going, "Archangel Shamuel, here we go." And I told her to put it on, and she put the pendant on, and she's just stood there with it. And we told her to do the reset and the full power. And within 3 minutes, she was standing there crying.
Wow.
And literally, I mean, the whole abdomen jerking, crying, and she was just purging and purging and purging. And after about 15 minutes of that, we got she was actually came back and we talked a little bit through her through her friend who was communicating. And what we were talking about is she was actually fully blocked, and she was totally under the belief, because she's from France, that we had solved all of the spiritual problems in France and we're good to go. And
Oh
that's what she,
no.
well, yeah, she totally blocked. So what this did, it cleared out all that for her and opened up her heart and allowed her to to really feel what was going on. And even people that are in this environment, we get sidetracked, and we're not always there and present and in the moment. So yeah, these tools here are for, right now it's the pendants and anklets, but we're coming out with entity protection pendant, which is really kind of a good one to have. So we're working that one out right now. Um, and we're doing also the tensor rings like Slim Sperling had. We're going to be doing those as well for the big ones. You can actually do meditations in them, sit in them, or put them underneath like a massage table if you're doing work like that. But it's actually just utilizing those energies while you're doing your work. And then we have healing coils and stuff like that. They're all different frequencies and different modalities. So
What's the size of the big ones?
they're about, let's see, the diameter is about 2 feet.
So it
So you
is
can,
large, yeah.
yeah, it's large. You can actually sit in the middle of one of those, put it underneath the chair, and because it broadcasts a funnel of light, you can actually sit in the funnel of light and do those things. It's like when I have inventory and I can bring them with us to a conference, I put them on the floor,
Oh wow.
and and you just on a concrete floor, you put this copper ring on the floor, and I have people stand in it, and I just like, okay, now relax, and then I talk to them, and it'll get the logical mind out of the way. I'll just start just kind of crazy conversations to get the mind off of it, and then in a minute or two, all of a sudden it's like I can feel that in my ankles. Why is that going to my knees? And it's like, and all of a sudden they'll start feeling the energies of those tensor rings, just literally pushing the energy up their energy body and to the point where their physical body can feel it. And it's really interesting to get people to respond to those. So it's the tensor rings and the tools. I mean, all of them are super powerful in their own ways. Um,
Would you say the
it's
bigger one is the most powerful as far as people being able to feel it instantly, or do you think that's the pendant?
well, the pendants are different because you're wearing it at your heart chakra and it connects to you directly. Um, the larger the ring, the more power it has. So put it that way. Um, if you utilize like the tensor ring, the bigger one, like we talked about, and because it has that energy film in the middle of that ring, I can bring that ring from the floor up over the body, and I'll usually have people close their eyes so they don't know where I am, and pulling that ring over them, and I tell them just feel your body, make note of what you feel, and then I go all the way up to their crown, and I bring it all the way back down. And what'll happen is they'll see light when I have the ring over their eyes, and then they'll feel it's like, well, I felt like a little bit of a tension on my left shoulder. or whatever it was, or my hip. And what that is the tensor ring, the energy field, is actually dragging on the frequencies they have bound up in that area.
That's a fascinating thing, and pretty soon we're almost at the point where we go to lightning round, which are some benevolent questions I ask you, so we can get to know you as a person a little better. But before we did that, I want to touch back on something you said much earlier in the night, and I thought about it, and our conversation took us other direction. You said that you first started tinkering with these technologies because you needed to heal yourself. Can you share? Are you comfortable sharing with us what was going on with you that you needed that healing for?
Well, yeah, but the healing was, as we discussed, going through a divorce, 20 years of kind of a little bit of a not a good situation, to the point where I forgot or I didn't understand who I was anymore. So going in through the reading, and then, and then I found Slim Sperling, and it was more of like, okay, I'm a mechanic. I can work with my hands. I can build these, and I can actually be more of like a spiritual tool. Let's see what this is. And this is where I started just building, and that was the path I chose, because it was more of working with your hands. If it was, it's one of those things. If you look at Gurdjieff's work, the way he was actually the way that he calls it the fourth way or something like that, is when you do something in repetition and you're getting your mind out of the way, you're allowing your higher self to come through to understand who you are. So looking back at what I was doing that just instinctively because it was something I was familiar with and I could utilize the skills of being a mechanic and torches and metalwork. So I ended up doing that portion, in kind of a learning in that way.
That makes sense, and that totally, from that perspective too. I had gone through a divorce 10 years ago, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't pretty. It's not just you separating your energy from a person who you lived with for a long time. It's all of the energies of the shared experiences and the traumas there that stick with you for a long time. It took me a couple of years to work that out, even after I had been pretty well balanced in my spiritual journey for a while. So yeah, that's totally makes sense. And before we jump into the last into the lightning round, I wanted to ask just one question too. A lot of people are coming into our community new, or maybe not new. Maybe they've been around for a while, but still haven't figured out how to get over that little hump. And that hump being the one where their mind is in the way, or where they're not able to feel the energies of themselves, or their guides, or whatever the case is that they're looking for. Most of the time, because I'm a channeler and because I teach channeling, it's something that a lot of people come to me to communicate. But how would you share with someone is the best way to get their mind out of the way, when they're first starting? How best to just learn to accept that emotional energy, or to push their mental body out of the way a little?
I can think of three different ways of doing that. There are I utilized it's called sacred acoustics. They have um, binaural beat audio sequences that will allow you to go into different theta state and delta, and other ones that are actually, they're beautiful audio, and that actually puts your brain into synchronization to a lower frequency or just into a different frequency, so it actually synchronizes that way. That's kind of the easy way of doing a quick meditation. Um, the other part for me was, um, I started just doing the ahem prama, repeating that word, repeating that phrase in my head while I was doing just whatever I was doing, and it would actually take control away from the left side, because the left side is trying to think, well, I need to do, or I got to do the laundry here, then I got to go and get the, go grocery shopping, or then I got to go and take care of this, and the kids need to do that. And then basically by just saying ahim prima, and that basically puts that in check for a while, so that you don't have that constant chatter going on. And the other part for me, being a mechanic and very mechanical in hands, I had to do physical things. For me, it was actually just doing the mechanical work. So, I mean, if you really enjoy gardening, go do gardening and just do a humperma. If you like to go walking or jogging, just do that. But don't have Eye of the Tiger going in the music. Just do a humperma going through your head and just keep that going, and allow yourself to just be clear. Because what you're going to get is you may not get this thundering download from whoever. You're probably going to start seeing more synchronicities and just understandings and knowings. And at that point, you're on the right path. So you have to allow, and the thing is, it's like you have to start really trusting your intuition. If you feel like, oh, that decision doesn't feel right, and you're going against it, and then you know it was wrong, take note that, you know what, I had that intuition before I did that. I probably shouldn't have done that. And then continue on with that path, because the synchronicities are going to get you in the right direction.
Very, very nice. Thank you for sharing that too. So I resonate a lot with the binaural beats. That's what really helped open me up. Oh my word, Monroe Institute stuff with the Gateway experience really helped me, and then the Equisyncs afterwards. And Eye of the Tiger does pump you up just in the wrong direction. So
Exactly.
I love that. Well, it is now time for our benevolent question survey, and it's basically the lightning round. I'm going to ask you some personal benevolent questions that are going to help us get to know you as a person better, because now we already know you as someone who works with tensor technology and someone who is a quantum technology expert, and we want to know you as Peter. And any question you're not comfortable with, feel free to skip. But we'll start with, what is your favorite color?
Blue, the deep blues. The ones that now that we have LEDs, those blues that are just so vibrant, glowing. I like that one.
Yeah, blue is my number two. Definitely. A lot of people really resonate with blue too in this community. A lot of people have said blues. Um, what is your favorite food?
Hmm, that's a good one. I probably have to say at this point in my life, it's um, hmm, sorry, my old favorite would be a nice steak, but that's not a good thing. That the higher vibration is not exactly a good place to be. But I've been more and more into like the sushi and stuff like that.
Yeah, pizza is one of the big ones. A lot of people say that's my favorite, but again, I can't even go close to a pizza at this time. It will not do well with my body. But yeah, steak too. I can understand that one. My wife loves sushi too. I never got into it, but I can understand why it's so appealing to so many people. It's light and everything else too. So let me see here. What is your favorite band and or song?
Nowadays, it would, let's see, if we go back a decade, it would be the or 70s and 80s genre, which would have been, Led Zeppelin and those kind of bands, because it was more of and Pink Floyd, because it was more of like an opera rock, or would have like a more of a story. I enjoyed those kinds of music. But now it's more of um, Dean Everson, Liquid Mind. Those two right there are my favorites right now. They're actually amazing music.
I've not heard of that. I'll definitely look into that. I'm a big music buff, and I still would say Pink Floyd The Wall is on my top 20 favorite albums of all times, probably. One that I can listen to from start to end, and I love every minute of it. That's definitely Led Zeppelin 2 is a good one, but I'll have to check those two out. Thank you for sharing that. And let's see, what is your favorite animal?
Let's see. My favorite animal. Let's see. Would be for two different things. I like dogs because of the way that they are right there for you and with you. Um, but I also like having cats around because of just they're entertaining to watch. They're kind of I don't know. They can be kind of retarded at times.
Yeah,
Um,
they can do that too. That's for sure.
yeah, dogs can be too. So it's just like yeah, having pets around are really cool.
Yeah. Cats are majestic too. When you watch them, they can be very, I mean, they can be silly and crazy too, but when you just watch them being, they remind me of the big cats of the African plains, you know? That's
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What is your actually I think we're at this point already. What is out of all the places you've ever been, because it sounds like you guys travel quite a bit, what's been your favorite place to enjoy the nature aspect of that place for both its beauty and the feeling, the vibration of it?
There. See, that's a tough one because we've been to we've been to South Africa, we've been to Costa Rica, been to England, been around the U.S. Um, and the thing is when you're in those different locations, there is a beauty specific to those locations. Um, and it's really hard to pick. Um, for me, it's been I'm going to say it in this way. Um, Sedona is absolutely beautiful, but you have to understand you have to like desert and more of because of the red rock and then looking at it through that lens of okay, I understand this is more of a desert landscape, but you see the beautiful green of all the trees and bushes, and then you see the red rock. It makes it's something you don't see. Um, so that one is there. But I do when I was in when we were in England, in the UK, South, Glastonbury in that area, for me, that was amazing because that was triggering me in past lives. So that was more like I saw it in a different light than you would normally just going through and looking around. I could feel the energy of me walking through there maybe a couple centuries ago or something. So yeah, it's just a different place of different perspective on favorite place.
Well, I've never been to Sedona nor Arizona. I flew over Arizona. We flew over the Grand Canyon too, but I never got a boots on the ground, check it out in the first person perspective. So I definitely am looking forward to Sedona. I've heard nothing but great praises about that. And England one day, I'm sure I'll be there too. But thank you for sharing that. I feel like I'm missing a question, but I at this point it's not going to come to me. So I'll ask you the last question. This is the one. This is why I say you can pass because this has been a little sensitive for most people, although the intention is quite benevolent. What is your favorite childhood memory?
Childhood memories. It would be um, I was a little bit older. Um, grew up, in central Massachusetts. I grew up in the woods, and we lived on our lake. And we had this little 12-foot boat with a little like 6-horse motor on it. And me and my best friend would just drive around the lake all summer long. Do really nothing but just drive around the lake, be on the water, be out in the sun, enjoying the wind and all the other things. Those are some of my favorite memories.
And what state or area was that you said?
North central Massachusetts.
Beautiful.
We're about 15, 20 minutes from New Hampshire.
Thank you for sharing that. I've heard that New Hampshire, that area in general, is beautiful. I've been through Maryland just enough to get around DC, but not really been out in the country in that area. That's out of the whole eastern seaboard, Florida, and those few northeast states above New York are the only places I haven't seen as far as coastal wise. So I definitely look forward to going there. And thank you for sharing that with us. Before we get to the part where I'm going to give the mic to you and let you share whatever you want to share about things that you have coming up, and how to find you, how to find your work, how to find all of that. I first will premise it with saying, if you're listening live or if you're listening after this has been broadcasted and redistributed on the several networks that we take part of, you can always check out the links in the description to find Peter and his work. But I wanted to say to you personally, Peter, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. This is fascinating. You're one of the first people I've talked to about the external technology with the internal technology. Co-creation is something that's always fascinated me. But I also want to thank you for putting out this technology to other people. It's something you hear a lot about in our community, and some of the ones, some of the people who just put a copper wire around a crystal and call it a healing thing. It does harm to the greater community, who's creating things that have a lot of energetic principles behind it, and understanding as well as application. So thank you for doing that, and sharing your experience with people, and putting your foots on the ground to get out to people in these events and let them try it for themselves. And thank you just for sharing your experience with it tonight. It's been fascinating getting to know you, and it was a great pleasure to meet your wife too as well. So thank you for coming on the show tonight, and please share with everyone how to find you, where to go, what things you have coming up that excite you, whatever you want to share. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Rob. It's been a privilege to be on. I wanted to share one more thing, and it was actually about the anklets. I mentioned that it took me about a year and a half to build them out, and we were still going through the divorce, so I was extremely busy dealing with all that. And Vivian and I had been together for a while, and what had happened is basically my building had actually been stalled. So Vivian ended up having a message from some higher dimensional beings. So she had this visualization. She was there. She was in this open area where three women were standing in front of her, and right behind them there were three portals. The next thing she saw were these 300-foot tall ETs. Don't know what dimension, eight, nine, whichever. They came in behind these three women, and they were communicating through them. And they told Vivian, "Tell Peter it's time to start making those tools," because I had stalled because we were too busy with life. So I got scolded by higher dimensional beings for not creating. So this is why I'm building these tools. It's, it's what happens when you don't do what they ask you to do.
That's like your higher self. If you ignore it long enough, they'll find a different way to tell you.
Oh yeah, if you don't learn, it's going to come back around and get you again. Um, so yeah, it's been quite the journey um, to create these tools, for the angels and the archangels. And of course, I'm working with Vivian and the Arcturians. So it's the energies that we work in all the time are very high, and it's been a privilege to actually be able to create these, to bring them out and to have people utilize these tools to benefit themselves on their journey. And it's been life changing for me, to see how people shift and change. It's been very rewarding to see how people shift. It's to me, it's amazing to see, um, just how people grow just from utilizing the tools. And I'm not putting all the emphasis on the tool. It's the actual tool and the individual, and how much they really want to grow and how much they want to shift. The tool can't be utilized if they're not willing to do it. So it's not that just that. I'm just, so I just put that in there, um, because people are just there right now. People are so determined to make some changes and make things move, and having these tools be available for them to actually make this happen. Been a blessing for me, and I just feel very blessed to be able to do it.
Well, thank you for doing it and for sharing it the way you have. The people who shared their own experiences on the website and their testimonials had me very excited and interesting in this, because a lot of time, it's hit or miss. But when you hear that many people sharing that much about it, it's always fascinating. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's like I said, there's a whole bunch more I need to get up on the website, and we're trying to get more video testimonials from people so you can actually feel the energy of that communication. Because it's been extremely helpful for a lot of people. And we've been doing this for 7 years now, so it's there's a lot of people that have been helped by these. Um, so yeah, it's if people are looking to look into the information about the tools and my journey and stuff like that, you can always go to my website, energiesofservice.com, and you can search that energies of service on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm up on there, uh, and basically we don't do a whole lot of posting on social media because I right now I just haven't had the time. But right now we're at a slow point until was it late August, and then we actually start traveling again. We're going to be in Egypt doing work, and then we're going to be going to Greece to do work, and we won't be back into the States until mid-October. Uh, but yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of work over there as well.
And if someone wants to get a hold of you or contact you, is that best through the websites and then not so much through the socials then?
Well, I don't normally check the socials all the time because it's just that is just like a lot of time consuming, and considering yeah, I have my middle son and my daughter helping me, but it's a lot of work out in the shop, so it's just pretty much the one man band with the kids actually assisting here and there. So it's just one of those things I need to be able to put more time and effort into building.
Oh, I know the feeling. It's at some point it's either do that or do social media or do actually what you're trying to do. So I get that totally.
Yeah. So I mean, I will respond. Yes, there's a contact me on the webpage, and you can get a hold of me on my email, which is pete@energiesofservice.com. Um, so there's many ways to get a hold of me.
Thank you so much for being on here. And again, if you want to check out past links on the social medias, they are linked below and up on the screen for the Instagram and Facebook. There are several links down there to check out, guys. Thanks again, Peter, for coming today. I really appreciate it. It's been a really great conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob, for having me. It's been a pleasure. And it's been a lot of fun having all the questions and answers, and the way the conversations flow are always amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here to be part of that too. It's definitely something that a lot of people learned a lot of things. I've been watching the chat as best as I could, and a lot of people are fascinated by the topic itself, but also by your sharing and everything else like that too. So thank you so much for being a part of that. And I want to let you guys know too that we are going to be here every Wednesday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, that's 7 Pacific. And there is a good possibility that we might be simulcasting to another radio network very soon. I'm in the works with that. When that happens, you guys will be the first to know. And next week, we are going to have Amy Robeson here. After that, on the 26th, we'll have Sue Frederick. And on the 2nd, we will have the Sedona group, all the people, including Ruben Langdon, who are going to be here. And then on the 16th, we will have Riz Mizra, and the week after that, we'll have Oriah Mizra on the 23rd. So stay tuned. More guests come. We will announce them. And we will get the Enlightenment Evolution Network website up hopefully by the end of the summer. And hang out till then, guys. You can always check out all the updates on Facebook, on the Enlightenment Evolution Hour, or any of my social medias. I share the link the night we go live on all of my social medias: Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So check that out, guys. Or you could subscribe to the ET Whisper. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you guys for being so active in the chat. You guys are amazing. All of the brainiacs on the Matrix Minds and all of my ET Whisper peeps. I love you guys so much. Thank you for coming on tonight. We'll see you next Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 Pacific, and I will see you all on the other side. Love you guys. Good night.